Welcome back. I am so excited to see you all. I am Danielle for those that are new here, and I'm so excited everyone is here today. You can see it's bright and early. The sun is rising over the lake there, and I am headed to work soon, and I just wanted to hop on here and just talk a little bit about if you stall in weight loss. So that has been my number one question is what do you do when you stall in weight loss? And I think it's a great question because over the course of a year that it took me to lose 100 pounds, I did have times that I stalled, and honestly, I think it's healthy for our bodies to stall at a certain weight. I think that it's healthy for our bodies to stall in weight sometimes because it's an evolutional process. If we ran out of food completely, we wouldn't want to go into starvation. And so our bodies were meant to hold on to weight. They were not meant to lose weight, especially fast. When I was doing some research for this video, I learned that our bodies even have hormonal and metabolic processes that help prevent us from losing weight, which I thought was super interesting. And it's all to prevent starvation. So if we were living in the wild and we didn't have food for a couple of days, we wouldn't want our body to all of a sudden lose all of the fat in storage because it does have benefits to keep us warm if we were living like outside, in the freezing cold. I know that's not the case anymore, but that is why our body holds on to fat. It's a survival mechanism. The first tip I would give you guys is to stop measuring just on the scale. I weigh myself about once a week. Sometimes I do it a little bit more often because I'm not super rigid on the number on the scale, but I highly recommend decreasing the amount of times you weigh yourself if you're weighing yourself more than once a week on the scale. I do think weighing yourself is helpful so that you have a guide as far as what the number is, but it's not the sole contributor to weight loss. So are you able to move better? Are you able, like for example, I went on a bounce house. I had gotten my kids a bounce house off Facebook Marketplace, and I went onto the bounce house and I was able to go in there without it deflating, which I could not do when I first got it. And so I was just super proud that I was able to actually fit into the bounce house and I didn't deflate the bounce house. And that's a non-scale victory. And we have to look at those as well, not just the number on the scale. Also simple things like, are your clothes fitting better? Are you able to breathe better? Can you exercise more? What are some things that you can do that you couldn't do before? Are you taking the stairs more? Are you just moving your body more? I would look at those things and not just focused on a number on the scale. Muscle weighs more than fat does. And so as you get trimmer and stronger, you might weigh a little bit more. So we're so fixated on a specific number on the scale, that doesn't determine our health. So we do have to focus on other things, not just the number on the scale. One thing that I've noticed a ton with losing weight is I'm able to move with my kids more. So I'm able to get up and down with them. I can sit on the floor easier. I can cross my legs easier. I could hardly do that before, which was just crazy to think about, but I can stand up in one like fall swoop instead of like having to bend over on all fours and like grunt and groan. Sometimes I do that because my legs are sore now, but in general, I can move so much easier, and that is a non-scale victory. Another thing you could do is take measurements. And so take measurements of your stomach, of your arms, of your chest, of your legs, and then you'll be able to see those numbers go down as well, which is super encouraging because you will get trimmer. Just because the scale doesn't move doesn't mean that you aren't losing inches. I actually found sometimes I lose inches first and then I'll notice the scale go down. So I would recommend trying to do measurements now. Even if you've lost weight already, I would do measurements now so you can see yourself shrinking. It's pretty cool. Another thing I would recommend doing if you are stalling on weight loss is to make sure you're tracking everything. So journaling your food, having a food diary just keeps you accountable and helps you see what you've eaten today. It helps me for specifically like desserts and stuff. And so I can see, oh, I had a dessert earlier, so I don't necessarily need another dessert today. And I recommend tracking everything. So if you take a bite of this, a bite of that, if you're doing points on Weight Watchers, making sure you track your points accurately, re-weighing things, measuring things a little more specifically, just for a little bit at least, so that you have a really good idea of what you're eating If you take a bite of your kid's food, making sure you track that, because all those calories add up. If you're stalling in weight loss, it could be that you're having a lot of hidden calories that you don't realize. So are you having drinks that have calories? Just double check and make sure what you're eating is the calories or points that you think that you're having. I also would say make sure you're eating enough. And so make sure you're eating your points, make sure you're eating your calories. Because if we go into deficit, calorie or point deficit, then our body goes into that starvation mode that I talked about earlier, and it will hold on to everything. And so you do want to make sure that you're eating enough and not restricting too much. It's okay to restrict for a day or two, but if you restrict more than that, your body's going to go into that starvation mode and it won't lose weight, even if you're overweight, because it wants to hold on to all of it. I've also noticed that I have to increase my fat sometimes. And make sure you're having like olive oil or just any kind of fat that you like. Make sure that you're eating enough fat, because otherwise it goes into that starvation mode. Third thing I would recommend doing is increasing your protein. So I know there's been a lot of talk about protein, especially lately, as far as increasing protein. And when I did some research for this video, I found it super interesting as to why increasing your protein is super helpful, and so I wanted to share that with you. Protein helps maintain muscle mass, and that increases your metabolism, and it burns more calories than just carbs and fat do, which I thought was so cool. It can also cause hormonal changes, which helps us feel more satisfied. So that's why you should increase your protein. I knew that people had said to increase protein, and I myself have increased protein, and I do feel more satisfied in general, but I didn't totally realize why, that it helps with my cravings. It helps me feel just not like I need to eat more, and so I don't have a bite of this or a bite of that, because I'm full and I feel happy and I feel content. The fourth thing that I recommend doing, which isn't going to surprise anyone, those runners back there, is to reduce sugar and starches. So I know that doesn't sound surprising, so reducing sweets, reducing treats, at least like sugary treats and starches, but the why is what's going to be intriguing to you. Sugar and starches, like carbs, like breads, increase your insulin levels. That's gonna make you more hungry and less suitable to burn fat. Insulin is a storage hormone. So when our insulin levels are high, it turns off our fat burning. So that's why you wanna decrease your sugar and your carbs, because you want your insulin levels to be lower so that you can burn fat. So it's not because we want you to be miserable and that's why you can't have sweets. There's actually a physiological reason why sugar and carbs help you not lose weight. I'm making some hard-boiled eggs and you can hear them going off in the background. Another thing I recommend doing is getting adequate sleep. I'm preaching to the choir here because my children do not like to sleep, so it's very hard for me to get rest sometimes. But one thing that someone told me once is to rest your body. Even if you can't sleep, just sinking into your bed and just letting your muscles recover and recoup is a super helpful way for your body to relax and recover. Poor sleep or not enough sleep can cause increase in cravings. It can also tell our body that we're in stress and that there's danger, which makes us hold on to fat because of those survival mechanisms. Another thing I recommend doing is increasing your fiber. So like fruits and veggies tend to have a ton of fiber, and those are typically lower calorie, and so you can have more volume for less calories, and so you just feel a little bit more satisfied because you have more bulk, and it also just helps clear out your gut, and it's just really healthy for you. So trying to increase like broccoli, carrots, anything like that that can just help you feel more satisfied. There's tons of different ways to cook it, so if you tend to not enjoy fruits or vegetables, I would highly recommend finding some recipes that are intriguing to you and just cook them a little bit differently, because if they're gonna help you lose weight, it's worth eating. The last thing I would recommend doing if you're stalling and losing weight is to exercise. I know that's not going to sound surprising to anyone, but there's so many good health benefits to exercising. I personally, when I started weight training or exercising, I held on to my weight for a little bit, so don't be surprised if that happens. It's that survival mechanism. So our bodies want to hold on to the fat, and muscle weighs more than fat. And so it's gonna take a little bit of time before it drops. But did you know that muscle burns more calories than fat does at rest? And so as you increase your muscle, you'll be burning more calories just sitting down than fat will. And so over time, you will burn more calories, which is gonna help you lose weight, or at least trim inches off of you. I recommend adding some weight training exercises. So weight training is gonna help you increase your muscle, and so you'll burn more calories throughout the day, where aerobic exercise like running or walking is going to help you burn calories in the moment, which is great, but why not add time where you can burn more calories throughout the whole day? I hope that makes sense. Let me see if I can reframe that. So when you exercise, like running or walking, you're gonna burn a certain number of calories. It's a set number. Where if you weight train, you'll burn calories while you're weight training and also later because you've increased your muscle mass, which, like I said before, burns more calories than fat does. Again, if you stall in your weight loss, just know that your body isn't fighting against you. That doesn't mean give up everything good that you've been doing. So your weight isn't your sole contributor to your health. And so I highly recommend still eat well, exercise often, don't focus so much on the scale, and you can do this. I believe in you and we're in this together. I need to start getting ready for work, but I hope you all have a great day. Bye.